Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Showcase on Bloodborne. Now today's video is a bit longer, and you'll see why. This weapon is a bit complicated and a bit different. There's not very many other weapons like it, and not many of the ominous name like the Bloodletter. The determined hunter weapon brandished by Durandal, the healing church assassin. The Bloodletter assumes the true and terrifying form after it draws upon the blood of the inner reaches of one's body and soul. It is the only effective means to expel tainted blood, or so Braid or isolating a cell continue to believe. Now, this weapon's weird, for more reasons than one. And the build for it is something of dedication, depending on how you want to use it. Yeah, this will require more explanation, which I'll give going forward, that is. Let's start with the stats of the Bloodletter. Now, it has two primary types of damage, physical and blood attack. Blood attack is normally reserved for guns, but the Bloodletter is no gun, clearly. Okay, we got 90 in both category, and with more bonus damage towards blood attack. Moving on from that, we can see it uses no quicksilver bullets despite blood attack, and durability is slightly above other weapons, just slightly though. Special attack, there's nothing significant. Moving on to a true bonus, we get a C for strength and nothing for skill, but B for blood tinge, and a D for arcane, which as weapon does not have arcane. It's weird. True requirement, need 14 strength, 6 skill for some reason, and 16 blood tinge. So it scales better on blood tinge than it does strength. But how to use that blood attack is a bit ambiguous. You gotta pay attention to the weapon itself, which I'll point out those points when they do a cross. But as you see with my stats, my skill, or my strength and blood tinge are both at 45, so blood tinge being more or less a better choice. Now, I'm going to also go with this. We can see that the extra stats for the physical attack is divided equally, or, get equal damage from blunt and thrust. The Bloodletter could do both thrust and blunt damage. It's important. Where I did the Hunter's Axe, which only do blunt, and I believe I did that spear, the rifle spear, which can only do thrust. The Bloodletter can do both. This makes it quite effective, but only for the base physical attack. Now, visually, the base form for the Bloodletter is a mace of sorts. It's sort of a mace with a lot of bone apparitions attached to it. Very crudely at that. It's hard to tell what's metal and what's not, or if it is in fact one all made of bone. It doesn't really give a metallic look, or it doesn't have really a metallic texture, but it has that metallic look. But as we get the large flange head and a lot of pointy intrusions everywhere, also on the point, on the head, everywhere. So switching it is about pretty normal. You got your basic move, and holy fucking shit! Yeah, this weapon gets serious. So when you transform the weapon with your own blood, it gets a little excited, as we see. It turns into the Morning Star of fucking Doom here. So yes, it turns into a giant Morning Star, akin to more of a wrecking ball, if you will, but with many, many pointy bits. Lots of pointy bits. But those pointy bits have pointy bits on them. So looking at this thing is even painful. Just imagine being hit by that. Ugh. Somehow, I don't know how, but the shaft gets bigger. You get a little bit on the back end, so really kind of make up a counterweight, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, does it, when you think about it? But no matter. But there's a big thing. Whenever you do switch, it takes 20% of your health. Doesn't matter how strong you are, it's always going to be 20%. So yeah, keep that in mind. Don't reuse that often. So yeah. It's dangerous, yes. But let me tell you, you use this, people know you're serious. Going on to animation, the basic attack is more or less like a mace swing, and a few jabs with it. So it's not really slow either, it's rather quite quickly. Okay, for the power attack, you got actually a jab, which is a very strange thing to do with a weapon that looks like this, but no matter. Then you got the power attack, which is an overhead club, like the proper mace it is, at least for the majority part of it. The rolling attack is a light bash. There it is again. And the rolling heavy attack is pretty much a heavy jab, if you will. It's a weird thing that'd be jabbing with a mace. Oh well. Next is the step attack, where you can see a step is a rather quick club, but not really any quicker than most other moves. The power attack version you see is overhead smash. The back step power attack, that is. Alright. And moving on to the pretty much plunge attack, which is your power attack while moving forward. It's kind of like a lot of other moves, just now in motion. Alright. So there's the transformation attack, and let's see that again in slow motion. You know you take your fighting seriously when you impale yourself with your own weapon. Now, with the bigger weapon, normal attack is you're pretty much lightly swinging it around. You can easily hurt yourself with such a thing. You can see there's much greater distance now in your attacks, and speed it seems to be almost the same. Power attack, you're actually using this thing as more of a spear, which certainly there's lots of points to use it as such. Now the power attack is, well, the thing seems to get really excited when you do a charge attack and it explodes upon impact. We'll test AoE on that. But yeah, it seems to grow lightly and give a pulsating sound. You understand when you use it in combat. It's a light rolling attack, you use it as a spear like a jab. So yeah, pretty much normal like that. And the power attack is a more heavier jab, if you will. Not only grow with excitement, but whatever. Light ball step attack, you can see it's another jab. A lot of jabs in this one, but can you blame them? And then you got the power attack version, which is a wide angle swing, I would call it. Alright, and then there's the plunge attack, which you use the thing as a proper morning star and bring all those pointy bits upon your opponent. Alright. Now the L2 attack, the special attack, is dangerous. Why? It causes madness, or frenzy. What frenzy does, it drastically cuts your health, but however, this version only takes 50%. Just how the weapon is. This also includes your opponents, not just you. So yeah. So, and pretty much switching back, you can see here, very fancy. But weapon's very, very dangerous to use. But anyway, let's go on to upgrading it. Alright, so I'll be taking it to just past the first upgrade with the blood chunks. So upgrading, you pretty much see that blood tinge will always be stronger, without any blood gems infused to it. And you see on the second upgrade, our strength ball tribute goes to a B. So that's immediately a good upgrade. Where most weapons have average scaling bonus, this one starts off really quick and you can always see blood tinge goes to an A next. Like rather quickly. So that's one inherently good thing about this weapon, its scales are really good, without any blood thing. And you see the first upgrade for chunks, our strength goes to an A. So, a lot of scaling, definitely so, without any blood gems. Okay, here's what it looks like if you threw arcane damage on it. It doesn't change the nature to arcane, but it adds arcane damage. So I don't think this weapon's really optimal for any arcane build. You should really just focus on your strength or your blood tinge. Well, there could be some people who can use a good arcane build with this, but no, I don't have the blood gems for it. Okay, so this weapon's going to be a bit weird in performance. You'll see in a second. But the basic attack, well, it's quick. Quick enough that it's not quite a mace. It must be made of bone, as I mentioned earlier. Because it certainly is quick, and quite light in that regard. So yes, it's quick enough that you can use it for decent DPS. Which is strange. Luckily I have that wide enough attack to actually do that with. But that takes careful timing. But it's adequate enough. So I don't feel like it's a very disadvantage to use this version. But now let's use the more excited version. So with the Bloodletter, you probably noticed it by now. Yeah, you probably definitely noticed. Pause. So, have you noticed it yet? A lot of you probably already know, but for those who don't, look at the damage. 255. Now, how much was I doing with the plain Bloodletter? The single version. Watch. Yeah. You're probably raising an eyebrow. Why is it barely any stronger? Well, here's how it breaks down. The plain blunt damage is for the small version, but it doesn't have any blood tinge damage. The blood tinge damage only takes effect when you transform it, but it loses its base physical damage. So you understand? You don't go strength and blood tinge for this weapon. You gotta choose one or the other, or you come out with a rather okay weapon. So a proper build for this will be 60 in either category. either 60 strength or 60 bluntage, and you stick to one of the two. So yes, I'm just showing you the both worlds and this parable and otherwise. I probably couldn't show this example without being this equal build. So that's what's strange about this weapon. You had, like I said in the beginning, you had to dedicate yourself to a build. Now, I also tested the Frenzy, but to my knowledge, enemies don't get affected by Frenzy, and as you see here, the attack nearly killed them, but Frenzy does not kick in. Does not kick in at all for normal opponents to my knowledge. It's only for PvP. Alright, so how does the weapon do otherwise? Well, in kind of base assumptions, you kind of have the same damage for both weapons as per my build. It'll be different for your build, unless you really want both 45 strength and 45 bluntage, but it's almost a bit of a moot point. But however, there is still advantages and disadvantages, such as now the Bloodtinge, the excited Bloodletter, does not have puncture damage. It only has blood damage, which affects most opponents equally, regardless. So unless of that, there's no true weakness. But that also means you don't have any advantage either. You have no disadvantages nor any advantage, I believe anyway. Now you can see here that the blunt attack against the more little bit of armored fellows is pretty useless. Like, okay, not going anywhere with that. But if you jab them, it's a very different story. You see, boom, right there. 300 damage opposed to the 200 damage I was doing. It's a very good, easy parable, and that's why I fight these guys. Because even with a charge attack, you get 300, but I do the same with a simple jab. The armor is just very high on these guys. But going on to the Bloodtinge, well, the excited weapon, you can see I do just about slightly less, or maybe equal damage to that blunt version, the not so excited version. Power attack, nothing really surprising there. Does about the damage I was expecting. So it comes down to, what do you want to do? Do you want to have high blood attack? Of course, if you have high blood attack, weapons like this would be powerful, and you'd be more powerful with guns. Or do you take strength with more of your bigger weapons, get stronger? My build is not optimal for this. Clearly. That's pretty much everyone should understand that now. When I built this build, it was supposed to evaluate all weapons equally. But however, in doing that, for the Bloodletter here, I've kind of don't have the optimal way of doing damage. Neither weapon for me is an advantage, or a disadvantage. They both have their pros and cons. That said, using the Bloodletter is mainly for PvP. It's because you have excellent range, you can cause that frenzy, which not a lot of players are prepared to handle. Most will still carry sedatives, but they have to be rapid in applying them. But yes, you get the general idea at this point. Gotta keep showing that frenzy because it's dangerous as hell. Now against a Shadow of Yharnam, the basic version is pretty good actually. The Shadows of Yharnam depend on their nimbleness and agility. They don't have any armor. But however, they do have a beaten spades for range on their weapons though. That sword of theirs is so damn long. So wide of attack. Can easily wrecked, but however, they're easily manageable. Now, for the more excited version, actually I'd say that's probably a less advantage. Because if I do the same equal damage, then this weapon's just slightly slower. But just slightly. I won't say it's very much slower, just slightly slower. But without the enemies being affected by Frenzy, it's more or less, I think the idea is not really used for PvE. It's kind of wasted in that regard, in my opinion. But in the end, that's what it is, it's just my opinion. But against a Shadow Yharnam, I believe I showed all everything I need to. Nothing new here now. Going on to the score and pros and cons for the Bloodletter, let's start with the pros. For the pros, you got two types of damage, both the blunt and the thrust. That's a very advantage way of fighting opponents. It's actually quite nimble for a mace-like object as well. Alright, so it's good DPS and good damage. Pretty good for pros. Cons? The range could be better. That's pretty much the only significant con here, is just its range. Otherwise has pretty good scaling otherwise too. Okay, going on to the score for the plain Bloodletter. Damage, I'll give it 7 out of 10. With the damage and the DPS, pretty good. Reach is where it falters a bit, because it's a mace-like object. It's a 4 out of 10. There are certainly weapons with better range, but it's not terribly short. Animation though, 7 out of 10. With such a huge variety of moves with 2 different damage types, it's very interesting. Bonus, I'll give it 7 out of 10. You got a lot of strength while scaling on this weapon. A lot. And miscellaneous, I give it 7 out of 10 for having pretty much good, really well-rounded. I personally prefer the base version here to the Blood Tinge version. But otherwise, yes, 2 damage types, easy to wield, and good scaling. A lot of good things about this. So in total, the plain Bloodletter version gets a 32 out of 50. It's a great weapon. For sure. Definitely great. Now going on to the excited Bloodletter. Why call it that? Because I think it's appropriate, don't you? Going on to the pros, it has significantly better reach than its original counterpart. And it can be quite useful in PvP with the Frenzy, if you are equipped to handle that is. But so are other players. Alright. Going on to the cons, it draws 20% of your health from you. The special attack does cause Frenzy for you every time, it cannot be avoided. So yeah, pretty, and slightly, I guess you say, slightly slower swing speed than the original counterpart. But pretty glaring pros and cons from both ends, but more or less on this one in my opinion. Going on to the score, damage, I'll give the same amount, 7 out of 10. But reach is better, it's 8 out of 10. Definitely a good reach with this weapon, compared to the original one. Animation though, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. There's a lot of jab motions here, but not a lot of wide swing ones that I kind of wanted. But oh well. Going on to bonus, it's arguably the same thing, so it's a 7 out of 10. You get pretty much, it's just slightly better, but not so much that I give it a point higher. It's just like a % better. Miscellaneous though, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. This weapon has this to use. Again, it draws upon 20% of your health, and the Frenzy move is very dangerous to use. So yeah, I didn't intend it to come out this way, but in total, it is 32 out of 50. It's a great weapon. I didn't go into this marking both of them the same like this, but the score kind of wound up that way. Rather appropriate if you think about it, though. Now you're probably wondering, ST, what the hell are you still doing here? You already did the review. Get off the screen now. We're done. But wait, I'm going to reward you. Now just stick around for another minute. Now you're probably thinking, ST, why are you dressed like a fucking idiot? Well, I don't care what you have to do, and oh look, I'm going to smash attack again. Is this going to do cause frenzy and... Oh. That's what. You can save yourself from that. What's the key? Having above 180 frenzy resistance. With my clothing, I easily achieve that, and I have 20 insight on me, which lowers your frenzy resistance. So keep that in mind when fighting your opponents, although they may clue into you. And you're probably curious, what does it look like when you kill yourself doing this? Well, there you go. That's how you kill yourself while transforming the weapon. Clearly a fail. Alright, so before I go to the conclusion, you're probably wondering, okay, what does it look like when it's fully powered up? You showed me without the blood gems, and you did it for this spear. So like, why not show it, well, with this one? And I'll probably make it a running thing now that I'll show at the end what it actually looks like with gems embedded. So here's a short montage. So now on to my actual conclusion. So what do I think? It's a pretty neat weapon. It's a really polarizing weapon at that, because you kind of have to dedicate yourself to either strength or blood tinge, because you're not really rewarded for going both ways. You best stick to one for this weapon if you truly intend to wield it like Brador did. But he's dead and I'm not. And that's been Showcase for today. I'd like to thank you all for watching and hope to see you guys next time. Take care out there.